Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order, The Last Days of Europe, with me, Omega, and the Empire of Japan. So whether everything is going wrong for us, we have noticed and calculated that we can reconstruct the Philippines, only to find out that we cannot because we do not have enough political power. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. And yep, we are one day past the limit that would allow us to do that. Oh well, we have a 3-2 chance that we will make it, and we failed. What can we do? Not much. Anyway, verdict. They hauled him on a stretcher to a local jail, hands cuffed above the torso. There, an army doctor took a look at his broken leg and set a splint on it. No cast. They gave him a crutch before walking him to his cell. When the bars slammed themselves shut, he took stock of his surroundings. A bucket, a wooden bed folded into the wall, and a small bare window at the back. Chains rattled as he lowered his bedding. He sat on it and sighed, looking towards the slitted blue sky. He refused to tell them his name. Not that it mattered much. His dog tags spoke for him when his mouth couldn't. The mood around the military prison was morose and hostile. He surmised that much between the debates in their interrogation rooms, emotions whose signals were gestures punctuated by halting, aggressive anguish. After a week, the interrogation sessions receded. One morning, the warden and his band of guards entered his room. He stood at attention, leaning against his crutch. For the first time, he saw them in a merry mood. "Mr. Alan Pope," the warden said, smirking, "you are going to court." They provided him with legal counsel and an interpreter. After a week of deposition, they brought him before a judge. In 3 sweltering days, they would work out his verdict. He stood, sweating profusely into the cotton shirt they gave him, as the judge pronounced in the strange language of his place the sentence that he would serve. "I'm sorry," the interpreter said, looking him in the eye before withdrawing as if shy. "This court finds you guilty of crimes against the Indonesian people, and therefore sees fit to sentence you to death by hanging." Jesus, well, that is brutal. And also based on the country. Illegal, but what can we do with that? Not much. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit of political power. Which one did we want to do? Okay, the expanding of business ties, that's gonna give us GDP growth, so we'll get that one. The delicate balance of power in the German Civil War continues to shift as Spears Germany conquers Heydrich's Germany. Interesting. Okay. Well, that is interesting. I would have guessed that Spear would be the first one to fall, but turns out he isn't. Okay. So let's do the expand business ties. Stability, power, port support. These are looking sort of good. Cold, shivering, aching, the quiet of the stream. Kane wandered the streets at night, hauling around his fabric suitcase, bursting at the seams, with all his personal belongings he had not already dumped by the side of the road. He had just been evicted from the youth hostel he was staying in. His little money he had left after being made redundant in the recent economic turmoil could no longer afford him a place to stay. He was young, only 20 years of age, and roamed the dark avenues of the capital in search of a quiet corner to sleep. The rain crackled and hammered down into the concrete sidewalk. Streetlights' beams twinkled in the puddles that freckled the twisting city roads. Kane trudged down. Not a soul could be seen in the empty streets to pay Kane a moment of attention, as he was astray in his own home. Afraid and alone, he sniffed and wiped his glossy eyes with his soaked fingers as he stumbled down dirty boots for somewhere dry. He found a back alley corner, packed in with metal waste disposal units and damp newspaper, and hurried his belongings into the hideaway. Tears flowed from Kane's eyes, drenching his dirtied white shirt more than his soaking wet hair dripping down his face. He curled up by his belongings, doing his best to ignore the roaring rainfall and putrid smell of the waste bins, and wept for hours, defeated by his remote solitude in the shadows of the city he had loved as a young boy. I will be forgotten. Jesus Christ, these are so demoralizing. Yeah, poverty range is just changing like crazy. Outreach. Morning. Washington, D.C. The day had just started in the Japanese embassy. Functionaries and staff filtered through the entrance. Junior diplomats settled into their respective offices, secretaries informing them of the day's itineraries. When Takeuchi Ryuji, the ambassador to the United States, settled into his desk, he found a sealed memorandum from the home aisles lying across the table. Breaking the seal, he found the envelope open. Message from the Prime Minister. American pilot Alan Pope has been shot down while flying bombing mission over Indonesia. The Indonesians were furious, but the government smells an opportunity. His task: communicate these set of facts to the United States and push them for concessions. Get them to stop supplying rebels in the countryside. Takeuchi leaned back into his chair. He'd have to think of something. Reaching for his telephone, he dialed the number of the United States Secretary of State. "Hello," he said to the receiver, trying to conjure an amiable tone. "This is the Japanese embassy in the United States. We have information that might interest you." And now we wait. Oh, interesting. So the new cabinet is coming. Nixon declares national emergency concerning South Africa. 2 months ago, the war in South Africa began. Oh yeah, that's right. What does it look like? Still going, but they lost a lot of territory already. The only area that they're holding above is this little piece of land. And let us check also Amur. Okay, Amur finally reclaimed its territory, and they are together with Irkutsk advancing into Magadan. So at least that is a good piece of news. Okay, Europe is just a mess. Nice Commissariat Ukraine, Republic of Ukraine, Transnistria, General Bezirk, Letland, Belgium, Luka Uprising. This is just sad. Okay, anyway, back to the news. Though the Organization of Free Nations intervention took the initial steam out of the Shield's offensive, the war had bogged down into a slower, more brutal affair. Amidst military mobilization among the OFN's member states, vicious infighting consumes the savannah and the cities caught in the crossfire. However, many believe this will change soon. As a wave of pro-war demonstrations washes over the United States, President Nixon issued a proclamation declaring the war a national emergency. Claiming the war is a threat to world peace in the form of Nazi expansionism, the national emergency authorizes the president to further mobilize the armed forces, likely for deployment to South Africa, and to revive past war production policies. They continue to spur a running horse. Well, okay. Good for them. Okay, we lost support in the parliament, but it's fine. We'll manage all of it eventually. In Moscovians' darkest times, Special Forces Shishki has robbed Operation Zone Moscow of Destiny's blessing. SPG has declared war on not far from Val to Tikhmin. Operationszone St. Petersburg, the Cold War on Nordfall for win. Okay, Shishki, we heard about them quite a lot, and they are wow. They really aren't that strong, but they are starting to have a pretty decent economy. Nikolai Pavlenko. One day the full story will be told, the story of millions of souls, each with their own tale. The more Europe's scars open, the more we will know. I wonder, anyone knows what this is based on? Special Forces Shishki. I don't know the name or anything. Or Nikolai Pavlenko. You guys are good at this, so maybe someone would know what this is a reference to. Okay, wait. We lost some production units. It's 1st of February. The economy took another week downwards. Foreign policy. Okay, 5 days the business ties are gonna be done. We can then do the... I guess the assist in reconstruction? No, wait, we will have the new cabinet available, so... That means we can then do... which one? I guess this one. We can do the emergency... Well, the price fixing laws. And promote the Filipino democracy. Which one do we want to do? The price fixing. We wanted to do price fixings. Let's do that one. Memorandum INAP-1 from Takeuchi Ryuji, Ambassador to the United States, to Kaya Okinori, Prime Minister of Japan. Regarding the matter from before, it seems the Americans are unresponsive to any of the terms proposed. The government has rejected any ransom deals except for the most minuscule amounts, and only offers an unofficial apology over the whole ordeal. In return, they demanded the immediate release of Pope alongside a warning. If he comes to harm while in custody, the US will hold Japan in partial complicity to his death. Suffice it to say, we will only lose face if we decide to accept their deal. Silence will flush them out. They cannot risk an American citizen under threat of execution. If the cabinet desires it, I shall endeavor to push them at this juncture until a settlement favorable to imperial interest can be secured. I trust in our government to make the right choice. Wait them out. We're not gonna release him. He bombed someone on our territory. Okay, so still no ministers, but now we have to make the crucial choice. We need to decide on how we're gonna handle this. So we can go with appeal to the hardliners. It is perhaps a difficult choice to make, but there are few other acceptable options. With these constraints in mind, it is determined that the support of the technocrat reform bureaucrats is what is needed for Kayas to succeed. Headed by Shina Etsu Saburo and Kishinobu Suke, the clique of the technocratic faction are supporters of the Keynesian technocracy, a style of governance that brought the empire to prominence, but has since fallen out of style as Japan has fallen into a stagnant status quo. Kaya will meet with both men for the purpose of gaining their support for his cabinet and aligning their roles for the restoration of the Keynesian technocracy, and perhaps with it the revival of Japan itself. So we would get decreased public approval, increased hardliner influence and relations, and Shina Etsubara will replace Aoki Kazuko in our cabinet, and Tadanori Nagayama will join our cabinet. So we would lose you, okay, but then we get extra political powers, their relations increase, and support in the entire House of Peers increases, further increase in their influence, further decrease from public. This one increases the rations and gives us political power and a couple of ministers and deal with the devil. Further increase of influence of the hardliners. Okay, or we can do the realpolitik. We get way more political power here. The Yokosankai is a ravenous beast, one that spits and chews all those that think they can fully control it. A cold stage of backstabbing, gossiping, and betrayals mark its history. The names of those foolish enough to face it head-on painted on the walls like Hirota Koki. We will not commit the same mistake. It's time to cash in some favors. So support increases and we get political power. Bend to pressure. Reformist relations will increase. Hardliners relations will decrease. Talk with Ikeda. Conservative relations will increase. Hardliners relations will decrease. Listen with Kido. Conservative relations. Okay, so this is basically applying it to all sides, and then pragmatism reigns supreme. The necessary abomination. Support increases, higher increase. Or on our own. We shall kowtow to no master. We shall not kneel to any other power, higher or lower. We shall not revise our reforms or give concessions to appease our rivals. Our party is not to be trifled with. Our plans are not to be interrupted. Our ideas are not to be denounced. We are the ones in control. We shall not give in to those who oppose us. We were elected for a reason. It is our right to lead this nation and guide it to victory. We shall spearhead the rejuvenation of Japan and its people all on our own. So we increase the relations within our technocratic faction. We will fill the remaining positions in our cabinet. Forge our own path. And get political power, reading by example. Hardliners, administrative efficiency, standing tall. Kido Itas. And rule by our view or none. So this is a question. Honestly, I like on our own, even though it doesn't give us less political power. It gives us 85 altogether, but it hurts the hardliners. Appealing to them would give us 25, 50, 95. And realpolitik gives the most. That is a question. And how do we get the ministers in here? Because this one immediately gives you ministers. This one, I guess you get it from... I'm not sure. This one gives you... let me look just at the hardliners a little bit. Relations are good, the influence is 36%. Concessions. Because of the technocrats are in power, we face the additional challenge of sizable contingent of hardliners within our own faction who will modify the support we receive from our faction. I have relations high. Because originally I really wanted to go with the hardliners. The reform bureaucrats. Headed by Shina Etsubara and Kishinobu Suke. They are supporters of the Keynesian technocracy. Well... on the other hand, on our own, honestly, is I think the best one to go with because it But the help of it would give me more political power. We increase the reformists, conservative relations, and Kidoitas, conservative relations. Pragmatism reigns supreme. The art of compromise is an incredibly delicate one. This is an assertion which has been proven by the disappointment lukewarm response expected once the new cabinet has been minted. It will be a cabinet restricted by the various compromises made in order to create it, if the Prime Minister remains confident. Whether it be through the bureaucracy or the ministries, Kaya will overcome the limitation of pragmatism, and he will get his way. With the final stamp of approval, the new cabinet is minted to the polite approval of the Diet. Or deal with the devil, composed of innovationist and state-centered bureaucrats. It is a true technocratic cabinet, one which has the representation from all wings of the faction. To make such a deal with the devil of Shova came with risks, but thus far these risks have been tempered. The problems will be tackled one at a time, and our focus for these first years will be a dedicated focus on the military. No, okay. No, this one is going for the military. For it was the military which secured our dominance once and okay, so this one, the new Diet, the new path has been carved and it's time to pay. Okay, so we're going on our own. I'm not gonna deal with the other parties, though the Realpolitik makes sense, but it, smells of another horrifying compromises. Appealing to hardliners has been appealing to the military, so on our own. We shall kowtow to no master, we shall not kneel to any other power higher or lower. We shall not revise our reforms or give concessions to our rivals. That is a hard path to go through, but we'll do it. So first things first, when can we get the next? In 3 days, which is gonna cost us 10 more. And I was thinking about doing a reform here. Income tax cuts, no business tax cuts. No, we want this one, but that lowers the public approval. How's the public? Yeah, 30%. We can't do that yet. I need to take something that will increase the public approval. So we can do this one, which decreases inflation. Then we can do something like this. Yeah, we'll have to combine any steps like these with improving the relations with the public, which we can do through this menu, can't we? Yep, we need to launch propaganda campaigns. 50 political power. Where the hell am I gonna get that? The 1964 Winter Olympics a success. With current events as tense as ever, respite has finally arrived with the Winter Olympics in Calgary, Canada. Thought to be an organizational impossibility due to just having 3 months to prepare, Calgary has shown it can be done just as good as Calgary has shown it can be just as good of a host as the snowy mountainous town of Innsbruck, Austria, forced to give up the event due to the German Civil War. The games attracted great public attention and with their success brought some much needed pride to the nation. And despite not as many nations attending as in previous games, Calgary kept the events as exciting as ever. In the end, the top teams have proven to be Finland with the overwhelming 14 gold medals, the United States with 5 gold, and the home nation of Canada with 4. All that in just 3 months. Yep. Okay. Foreign policy decisions available. Yep. So, now... promote Filipino democracy. Endorse 100%. Now let's go with emergency price fixing. That one is quite expensive but will work in our favor. We can in the meantime take in 2 days the opening of the agricultural sector. Memorandum INAP2 from Takeuchi Ryuji, Ambassador to the United States. As expected, with less than a week towards Pope's execution, the Americans have finally caved under pressure. Now they offer to de-escalate their support for rebel elements within the Republic of Indonesia, as well as a significant amount of ransom to go into the Republic's coffers. An official apology will also be issued. In exchange, they will send a plane to Jakarta to retrieve Pope. These concessions are crucial and beneficial. Sukarno will need every help he can get. The cabinet may accept the deal as is or push for more. Be warned, however, that the Americans have their limits. I believe in the government to make the wisest decision. Accept the deal. I'm not gonna push them too much, you know. We achieved what we wanted, and thus we shall take it. So let's prop up the agricultural sector. Poverty rate will begin to improve. That is what we want. It takes 30 days. So our first reform is taking place. Next excess political power we are going to use for the public campaign so that we can do another reform. Currently the poverty rate is increasing at 0.45%. Agricultural methods are dropping, so this will help hopefully. Iranian Italy has defeated the provisional democratic government of Greece in a war. Okay, so Hellenic Union is back in power. Amur is still fighting with Magadan, but it is almost, secure at this point. Clerical fascism, Bolshevism, corporatism. Ironically, Magadan is closest to us when it comes to, its state setup. Pomp A. Great. The office room buzzed and churned as it did usually. Papers were shuffled to and fro, dragged on in the clasp of anxious interns. Office regulars sat lazily at their desk, pecking at their keyboards, pretending to be hard at work. The scent of coffee and cigarettes choked the ventilation, and printers whirred on in the background. The signs were at first ignored. A few accountants glanced worryingly at the stock market data screen, but neglected to investigate further. News clippings were scattered here and there, though everyone seemed to ignore the sections documenting the porpoising state of the stock market. Now this story could not be further from reality. Countless corporate buildings had fallen into chaos after the Asuda crash, with law enforcement regularly patrolling the fallout of street skirmishes between security and redundant employees. Within the offices, the shattered shards of glass cabinets skidded across the carpeted floors as employees broke into gases to price of trophies. Into gases. The price of trophies they could get their hands on. People had stopped watching the percentages and prices. They raided and stole what they could before they too were as bankrupt as the former employers were. The sudden and shocking fall of the Asuda Corporation was predicted by few and expected by even fewer across the island of Japan, but all would come to taste the starving hysteria of desperate fathers, brothers, and sons trying to save their skins in the economy's plummet to its doom. Okay, so thank you for the bedtime story. That is absolutely horrifying. Okay, we finished the refits of the submarines. We built 2 more new destroyers. I can actually take these destroyers and assign them here and have them patrol. I can take this one and assign it here so that they 2 patrol. These 3 will be the next one, and we are sending 2 more. Okay. Okay, these submarines can be assigned to the first Kantai. And what we need to do is we need to look into these I-600s. What are we gonna do with them? I think an upgrade is also a pretty good idea, even if these are fairly aged. Okay, they had 8 times 300, 8 times 533mm torpedo tubes. I'm gonna upgrade them to 4 times? What? How was that? Okay, for some reason this is better. I don't get how, but the game claims it is better. The torpedo attack is gonna increase, and they get a better engine too. And if it's gonna be only 400. 400. Well, I mean, the production cost is 570. If we upgrade everything except the engine, it would be 170, so let's do it that way. Okay, so I-601 class will get better torpedoes, and that's it. No point in going too overboard. Okay, so I'm gonna upgrade, and that's it. Back to the sky. They were kind enough to give him 2 cigarettes and a sip of coffee. After breakfast, the warden tapped his shoulder. "Let's go. We'll be late." He nodded. The guards walked him down to a car, a beat-up Japanese car of some description. Then they drove under an overcast sky, the drizzle pattering down the avenue they passed, up to the military airbase. He sat at the back and listened to the guards' chatter until it fell off into silence. Faint thunderclaps beyond the window panes. The plane has already landed by the time they got there. A Grumman C-1 trader, carrier on board delivery. He held back the desire to whistle at the sight. They're pulling all the stops just for him. Yesterday, amid the hooting and hollering of the soldiers, he heard that his government had apologized for his actions there. He scoffed. There was no need. He was a happy killer if there ever was one. He and the pilot entered the plane. As the engines sped up and they began to lift, he saw the soldiers wave goodbye at him from the port windows. Funny gesture. "What's it like down there?" the pilot said through the din of the engines. "Like nothing I ever knew," he muttered. "An amicable solution if there ever was one. American-Japanese tensions will decrease by 5%. Okay. And Republic of Indonesia recovery rate and division organization for every faction member." Well, okay, whatever that means, we are fine with it. We made that work. Okay, and on that note, I guess we'll end the episode over here. Oh, hey, you don't have an admiral? How come? You were supposed to have... Oh no, you're the drilling fleet. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so on that note, I think we're gonna end it. Things are finally starting to look a little bit better. Yeah, the real GDP growth dropped. We increased our nominal GDP growth. The propping up of the agriculture sector will lower the inflation. We'll invest on our own into a propaganda campaign, and then we can... or we could bait out the struggling businesses. Which I guess would make sense as well. We'll see. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode. Hopefully Now, on a path of recovery, I'm also very interested in seeing what kind of ministers we're gonna get. And it's gonna be very crucial for us. So, thank you and see you next time.